Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Dollar Bill, and it's so good of you to join me here today. Now, today I want to talk about an interesting revelation that I had as far as the healthcare in the United States system goes, and as to why people are so inclined to take such drastic measures with their health in the United States. And what do I mean by that? Well, it seems like every couple of years in the United States, even well before the pandemic and all the stuff that's going on now, every single year, every couple of years, some crazy new trend or fad or something else like that, you almost always came out in the United States, like certain types of pills or diets such as Atkins and keto and certain types of exercises and certain types of it always seems to come around like, and it always centers around health, like usually. And I was just always mesmerized by that because it felt like something was changing every single year when most other places of the world, especially places where people live the longest, such as Italy and Japan and Spain, where you have the longest life expectancy, people have kind of more or less figured out what's good and what's not good in terms of like all the health and all their attitudes towards it. And then I realized very quickly why it happens the way it does in the United States. And it all has to do with this map. Now look at this map. Little note, red is not good on this map, okay? So if you look at green, countries with green, dark green, are countries with free and universal healthcare, which covers most of the planet actually. And then countries in light green are with universal but not free healthcare, which I believe is one tiny little African country here. And then here's countries with free but not universal healthcare. So most of the world provides some form of universal coverage to its citizens. And then there's the good old US of A, along with a lot of countries in the Sahara and sub-Saharan Africa, Indonesia, Cambodia, countries in Central Asia, and of course, I believe that's Iraq. I think maybe Jordan's in there. It's kind of hard to tell. And then, of course, Syria. So the United States is in quite interesting countries, an interesting company when it comes to healthcare. And then I realized why people in the United States just take and just run with the craziest trends that you could think of, instead of following like age-old rooted advice that has been more or less tested on very large scales of nations, right? You kind of look at like all the things that have been happening with the pandemic, and you realize, man, what is going on here? Why are people just jumping onto all of these fads and trends? And then you realize, in the United States, people don't have the ability to actually go talk to a doctor most of the times, to have the doctor tell them like what to do and what not to do with their healthcare, because most people can't afford to see a doctor or have access to a doctor until something usually major happens. And people wait until the very last minute because in the United States, if you look at this number here, a 2009 study in 5 states found that medical debt contributed to 46.2% of all personal bankruptcies, and 62.1% bankruptcies filers claimed high medical expenses in 2007. Data might be a little bit old, but on that front, I doubt very few things have changed because there's a high number of people in the United States who don't have any access to healthcare at all. And the only time they get access to healthcare is when something truly terrible happens. So you don't get those kinds of, semi-annual or quarterly interactions with a healthcare professional who's like, oh yeah, let's keep you on track, just do a little bit of this, get a little bit more cardio in your diet, and let's take a couple of samples, and you come in, you talk to the doctor tells you what you should do, and you stay on track, you create goals, you talk to somebody who knows their stuff, a highly educated individual, and you trust and take that advice. And in the United States, you just don't have that because most people can't go see a doctor, according to the data here. And a lot of that has to do, of course, and I said, the American healthcare system is just so ridiculously complicated. But just know somebody who lives in this country and has experienced some of the more crazy and interesting parts of the healthcare system, including surprise billing and just like crazy out of nowhere charges and gaps in coverage, and like it's just there's all the stuff. And I experienced all of this, especially in my early 20s, when like it's like getting insurance was just like, I mean, it was just a task and a half. And I remember the Obamacare era and like how, just the debates and everything that went on there just to cover millions of people. Because I think, what does it say here? In the U.S. Census Bureau reported that 28.5 million people in the U.S. did not have health insurance. So people don't even have access at all. And then you wonder like why people jump onto the craziest fads and take a bunch of crazy medicines, right? It's because most people can't go see a doctor to tell them not to do this, so they do it. And this is why why in the United States in particular, and again, I'm not going to talk about the efficacy of what is being done. I don't know. I'm not a medical professional. I've heard conflicting data on all of this, and I don't know. I just simply don't know enough to talk about everything that's going on with COVID and ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. But I know why people jump to those things. I know why. It's because most of those folks, they're talking to the people in their community because a lot of them have had probably, and this is my just guess, my opinion, probably have had negative interactions within the healthcare system. It's because the United States is one of few countries in the world that doesn't guarantee healthcare as a right to its citizen. And what's crazier, as it is the only Western country to do so as well. It's the only Western country that just doesn't guarantee some form of universal healthcare to all of its citizens. It's kind of crazy when you think about it, because then that means fewer people have interactions with fewer doctors, and as a result they go to Facebook communities, they go to friends and family for medical advice. And that's why all these fads, trends, and all this other stuff that usually you see where you're like, what the heck is going on here? That's probably why it happens. I mean, that's just my conclusion, and tying all these pieces together, it's like, if people saw a doctor every 6 months, right, and we had like this association and respect to doctors, saying like that, like we were like, it's a highly trained individual, highly trained professional, which I do, by the way. Like, don't get my criticism of the system confused with criticism of quality, because I believe America has a really excellent quality of care. But I think to achieve that quality of care, it creates the most insane, convoluted, most backwards system known to man that leaves a lot of people in the gaps. And then, like, and then you get the media that wags their finger at people for like, oh, why did you do this, or why did you do that, why do you take such risks with your health? And you're like, well, it's because most people can't get access to healthcare professionals to correct the course, so they end up going down these like just giant rabbit pipelines in social media, to a point where they just are overdosing on like what is it, like horse dewormer, I don't know, like all this crazy stuff. And a lot of it just has to do with access. It's just simple as that. Like, people don't have somebody to correct the course. They take it in their own hands, and you see the results, right? And just kind of, problematic in that regard. And that's just my opinion. I'll leave it there for now. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I crazy? What's going on? And be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to all of you later.